This is Module 3 in Fin525, Financial Institutions Management. In this module we're going to look at credit risk, liquidity risk and liability management. Okay, so credit risk is the risk basically of overexposing yourself to lending in a particular sector. And we're going to look at it not from the individual loan point of view in assessing credit risk at the sort of grassroots level of assessing a borrower, but we're going to look at that credit risk in terms of a portfolio of loans. So in other words, are you heavily exposed to one particular sector that could cause problems if there was a downturn in that sector, for example agriculture. So we're going to look at it not at the individual loan level but at a more portfolio level. And basically how institutions can manage and mitigate that risk through using derivatives, through using securitization, through using a number of techniques. So credit risk is a core risk of their business. You don't want to be overexposed to a particular borrower. And so it's really looking at how we can get a handle on what our exposure is as a financial institution, and then how we can mitigate those risks. Now, unlike the other risks, such as credit risk and interest rate risk, liability risk is a day-to-day risk or activity of financial institutions. So they're always going to have the issue of how much actual reserves do we hold on hand to meet our depositors' needs, at the same time as managing the other side of our balance sheet where we might have drawdowns of loans. So it's really managing the amount of liquid assets you keep on hand. Now, there is a huge cost of keeping all your assets as liquid assets. Obviously, the more liquid they are, i.e. cash being the most liquid, the less return that they earn you. So that's a real issue in terms of management for a financial institution. You want to have enough liquidity there to meet your commitments, but you don't want to have too much because it will cost in terms of the returns that you'll be earning on those assets. There are different techniques then for how financial institutions may get emergency, if you like, liquidity, the different ways on the asset and liability side of their balance sheet that they can use that to manage that risk and to mitigate it, and you should be familiar with those. That feeds into the next topic, which is the liability management and how you actually manage those issues. It's a real knife edge issue, that's what it's called, the liquidity and liability management, in terms of you want to keep enough but not too much. How do you know what's enough and not too much? And so that's one of the risks that face financial institutions, and you can be penalised for being too cautious in this sort of industry. And so I guess that they're the issues that you need to keep in mind as you work through these topics.